Hello, welcome to Fiber Trek. My name is Sarah. I am in southern Maine in the United States. I have found a wee bit of time where my puppy is content, Ruby. It was -4 this morning and we had snow and then we got rain on top of it and then it all froze. It created a shell ice, which has been really hard to get the dogs out and myself. The dog out and myself. I don't like to be on the roads this time of year. We live on a dirt road and I just find that the plowing and the sanding, I'm always concerned being on the edge that people are going to lose control or try to maneuver and it's slippery and blah, blah, blah. So I try to do more skiing in the woods, but conditions aren't perfect for that. So I don't know where I'm going with this except to say we did our best. Typically I do a 40-minute Frisbee extravaganza in the mornings with her. And then we do a 3-mile run in the afternoon, and in the middle of the day, we do another 40-minute activity, whether it's going down to the barn and doing bits and pieces of chores, or more Frisbee, or what have you. That's Ruby. So I'm hoping that I may have lost my window of opportunity. So I have this beast, and then my niece and my nephew are on their way over, so there's 2 more beasts. So it's a beastie kind of day. I'm actually kind of hoping to see if Cameron will do some video with me. Ruby has a habit of putting her items under the couch, and I know she does it on purpose. It's this like total game. And then she gets mad that she can't reach them. So you have to get up and you have to go get them for her. So that's what she and I are battling about right now. Ruby, come here. Come here, Ruby. So I've got quite a bit of distraction right now and incoming. That being said, I'm hoping on this edition to talk about what I've been working on. I'm also hoping to film a sewing portion, which I will upload separately because when I look at what I've been doing, it probably needs to have its own episode. I plan on talking about the events that are upcoming for 2018, which does include Wool Scouts. And I've got some acquisitions and discoveries to share with you. And I have some reflection about my making in general that I thought I would throw out there. And that will probably be woven in throughout the works in progress portion of the episode. For a little festive flair, I have included my smoking man. Sarah Pomegranate of the Yarns at Yinhu podcast introduced me to these very sweet wooden decorations. I love the little story, that they're so detailed. So you can put balsam incense inside and then smoke will come out of their mouths. And then I also have this piece, which I may have shown before. This is by Grace Gunning, and I found her through Rhinebeck. I have 2 of her boxes. So that's my attempt at being coiffed, seasonally coiffed for the podcast. Right, Ruby, come on over here, please. Come on, come here, Ruby, come. Yeah, hi. So I'm going to try to assuage the beast while I show you my works in progress. I'm sure that will go really well. Don't you think? Hey, I got through the introduction. I'm super happy. Did I welcome you? Well, I'm going to do it again if I didn't. You are most welcome here. I appreciate all of the interactions and comments. They're very enriching to my thought. I love the tail. Even though I don't always get a chance to, report back or comment back. So all of that gives me food for thought, especially when I'm driving to and from work. So I really appreciate people reaching out, providing support or interest or whatever, just letting me know that there's a greater world out there and I am connected to it and there are like-minded people, and that's a very helpful thought during this time. And that being said, I yeah, I'm just gonna go right into some works in progress while I have the time. I think I may have lost it actually. Ruby! So first up, I finished the first mitten in the Astrantia mitts by Wenky Rald. No, here she is. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is the black and white version. So it was knit in, it was knit. It was, it's a Norwegian pattern. And thank you for reaching out regarding some translation. I was able to use that website pretty effectively to work my way through the beginning of the pattern, especially the pieces of what the symbols mean, like row, knit, purl, etc. But once I got that kind of sorted out as far as how many stitches to cast on, rows, engage, the chart, I was able to read the chart independently without need of any base in the language. So here it is. This is knit in the Kashgora handspun from Tajikistan, which is, I got through Casey Apport Fiber. It is hand spun and dyed in Tajikistan, and the fibers are sourced both from Afghanistan and Tajikistan. So she has a cashmere line that she does, and then she has this Kashgora line, and they're fingering and sport weights available. This is really a joy to knit with. I love the colors. I love all of the colors that the yarn comes in, and I would love to knit. I would love to knit a sweater out of it, and because it is so, I don't know. I love the story that goes with it, and I love that it's hand spun, and I do like the texture of the fiber. So I didn't change anything about this, except I did go up a needle size because I tend to be a tight knitter, and it was a sport weight. This is designed for fingering. I also changed, this is a set of pearl bridges, and I opted to do the Latvian braid, so I used the directions from Pia Kamaborn's Shine Mitts and incorporated that in. And I did use Pia's mitten pattern and I kind of transposed that onto this because it had very similar construction, etc. So I was kind of able to meld those two. So it was a really helpful reference when I was working out just how this mitten was gonna, work. Picking up for the thumb, I kind of made that up. I knew how many stitches I needed. So yeah, I love this pattern, and I think I'll probably knit it again because I just like the look of it. And it has a different cuff. That's something I wanted to mention than what I've done. And that's partly because I didn't take the time to translate exactly what you were supposed to do. But do you see the pretty scallop ridges here? So I didn't do that, but I'm happy with it nonetheless. So I've started working on the second. It goes pretty quickly. It's over 48 stitches, and so I cast this on yesterday, and I'm on my way. I actually have a number of mittens. I've always enjoyed knitting mittens, and I have Robin Hansen's mitten book. And it was funny because I was like, I think I hear them approaching. I don't need to knit mittens because I have a pair. But I have found that I have a pair in my car, I have a pair in here, I have a pair in my work bag. So I'm going to go welcome my beasties, and maybe Cameron and I will be back with you in a little bit. So I'll see you soon. Right. So obviously I'm in a different space. The beasties came, the beasties went. We had a pretty fun, raucous kind of day with lots of Hungry Hippo, and we played Candyland, pretty rough game because we're learning how to lose and take turns. So that was another kind of rodeo. And then we did, what else did we do? We did some books. We watched The Grinch. We made Christmas cookies. So I was completely involved with the children yesterday. But I thought I would move forward. I just gonna stitch this all together, no pun intended, well, actually a pun intended, and just go on with my works in progress. The Rube dog is here. She's asleep and content. I think the cold weather makes a big difference, so I'm riding that wave. I think I left off talking about the Astrantia mitts by, is it Wenke or Wenchi or Wenka Rald? And I'm going to talk a little bit about the sweater that I'm knitting now, which is by Carrie Bostic Hogue. It's Branches and Buds. And this was in the first issue of her Making magazine, which I think was Flora. Right, Flora, Buds, that type of thing. So I'll show you the finished project. She originally used Quince & Company's, I think it was Owl. It was a Quince & Company yarn. I'm using a Maine yarn from the Maine Yarn and Fiber Supply. This is primarily Romney with some alpaca. I don't have the percentages. And this is a top-down yoke. And I knew I wanted to knit this. I think this is really where that, I don't know, I can't remember what I talked about in my intro. So this will be what we call in the business supported podcasting, where I continue to remind you. So I started knitting Knit Love Wool's Sigrun with this yarn, and I didn't like it. And I couldn't really handle the fabric that I was getting. I was knitting on a US 6, and I knew I needed to drop down to at least a 5, if not a 4, which I think a 4 would be preferable. And so I was looking for a sweater that would fit that gauge, and the Branches and Buds came up. Now this sweater was not a priority. It wasn't like, oh, it's a do or die. And I have so many sweaters, most of them by Knit Love Wool, that are kind of a do or die. Like, I really want to knit those. And so I find myself knitting on this, and I'm like, you know, this sweater really wasn't like, I like it, and I think it will work for some of my stash yarns, and I think it will look nice in my wardrobe, but I think I was more driven by using the yarn for something versus, and part of that is I just wanted to kind of move the yarn out of my stash, and the other part of that is I was down at my parents' and I didn't have access to my full arsenal of sweaters worths of yarn. So I kind of ended up knitting this, and I think that might be a bit of the rub. I've made significant progress on the sweater, so I'll show you. So here it is. I've cast off for the armholes, and I'm knitting the body, and that's a really good place for me to be, because as I was knitting this, I just had lots of trouble. I had trouble with the yarn sliding over the needles. I had trouble with the pattern. It's a really simple pattern, but I would find that I'm off, and it was just, I found the yarn to be frustrating, and I'm not sure if that was a function of the choices that I had made along the way, etc. So I was using metal needles, and there were so many stitches on the needles, and I had a hard time, and it hurt my hands. So it just became this kind of, like, I was resistant. But I pushed through because I really wanted to finish the sweater and be like, ta-da, there it is, and not have to have it sitting in the back of, sitting in the back of my, or the bottom of my basket. I have more projects on than I've ever had cast on before. I have been typically a monogamous knitter, and I think that's part of the flow issue I mentioned, that I have a little bit of paralysis because there's so many projects across the board that I'm really excited about and really interested in doing, and you know, honing more skill. And I'm also between two places and I don't have spaces set up. So I can't just sit down and sew for a minute and then get up and do X and then get up and do X. Like everything is kind of placed around the state and the house, and I have to pick everything up and put it away. I think that's a significant draw on any creative time. You know, I like having my desk. I do have a space downstairs that's set up. I try to have my computer open because I do have a really hard time going to my computer. It's a big old laptop. It's like 6 years old. It's slow. And so then I'm primarily on my iPad. I don't like typing on my iPad. So responding to comments or sending emails, it's really, it's a difficult task for me. So by having the computer open on at my desk where I can just scoot in and scoot out has part of my plan to make a significant difference in my ability to do the outside work, which is fiber trick. And same with sewing, I think, when you can kind of have pieces set up so you can just go over, do a little bit, and then walk away, I think can really be a time saver and really increase flow. Because I didn't really experience that this summer, and I had left everything at my home in northern Maine set up so that I could just do that. So I think for me, flow versus, you know, I don't need tons of an amount of intention when I'm doing my projects. Like I'm happy to do them and move them on and get on to the next and enjoy what I have right now. But so I don't feel like I need to get grounded in my project or embrace the slow. I think I need to find the flow so that things have ease and it's smooth and I can shift easily. And I think that this sweater has highlighted that, and I appreciate that about this sweater. So anyway, I do love the colors for the branches and buds. I don't know if you can see that blue. And I had originally thought I might do blue, orange, blue, because I'm using a really, it's like sapphire and then a copper and then like an emerald green, like real jewels because it's over dyed gray, and then like a dark brownish rose gray for the body. That's just in case I get it uploaded to audio, which I'm still working on. So yeah, Branches and Buds by Carrie Bostic Hogue. And that is in, did I show you this new trundle bag from, I'm a sucker for Christina's stuff from Matterroot. So I got the Pussy Willows, and I'll show you in some other discoveries. I had to get her new bag, which is a nice little bag. So I also have on the needles this, rats, bat dogs. This is, and I'm going to pick up my stitches. Oh, actually, this is the Norlands hat, and I'm going to have to look up who it's by. It's from Twist Collective, and I'm knitting it with, I'm going to have to look up the tag. It used to be Gotland Gray. So let me get that information for you. So Norlands, like I said, was published in Twist Collective. It is Norrrlan, and it's by Sarah Birch. And here, it's a hat and a mitten set, and the trees are cabled. So let's see if she's got, so here's the top of your hat. And then the mittens are cool, kind of funky too. I think I might do those in a separate yarn. So Sarah Birch, the Norland set from Twist Collective, and this is, of course it's stuck together, because I was trying to be, what did I do? Hold the phone. There we go. I think it's Tree Swallow, a Barn Swallow Farm. They're out of Topsom, Maine. I interviewed them on one of my previous episodes. Their dog Fafnir is in the intro to this, their guardian, livestock guardian dog, who I just have such a soft spot in my heart for him. This is the silver colorway. It's 2016 clip, 258 yards, 4 ounces, 1,032 yards per pound. This was spun by Hampton Fiber Mill. And the other colorway, so silver is the lighter gray, and I bet black is the darker. So I'm having a hard time staying on my needles, and here's hoping I didn't drop stitches and colors, and I'll have to go back and look. I haven't worked on it in a little bit, but I really wanted to cast this yarn on. They had a 20% off sale, and so I picked up 2 skeins. This might be hard to show because of the... I just pull all those stitches out. Curses! Well, it might make it easier to show you. So I'm not very far along. I'm knitting this on a US 2. I will say that as I'm sitting here in a slight darkness and shadow, picking up those darker stitches is a little rugged, but I haven't had too many problems with that darker yarn as I've been knitting it with good light. So, yikes, bad dogs. So I think I'm going to shove this into one of the cakes of yarn. And that is in my little knitting hedgehog bag. I got that at Mother of Pearl Yarn Shop. I think of Mother and Son. This is a business that they run in Maine. I haven't made any progress on my Lulu by Coco Knits. I am in a position where I would like to try it on to see if I need to continue to increase for the shoulder seams or the bust. So it's knit top down, and it has a specific, I think she calls it an English set-in sleeve construction. So that just needs to be tried on, and then it's stockinette with some increasing straight on till morning. What else do I have here? Anything of interest? Those are kind of the main projects I've been trying to focus on. I still have 11 lemons on the needles. A number of you commented that, you don't have to knit everything that you start, and it's all, definitely concepts to be considered. And so it sits there, and sometimes I move over and pick it up, and sometimes I forget about it. For some reason, I don't have the same rub about that. Now, if you watched any of my episodes where I was knitting the stocking, that was serious, hate. I hated knitting those stockings. I couldn't even pick them up, and it was like this visceral response. I don't have that with anything here, so I feel like, it's a manageable perseverance issue versus detest. So that continues to sit there, and like I said, I pick it up and bring it out here and there. So that was nothing. That's nothing. This is my travel basket that I use to go. Oh, look, there's a squeaky toy that I use to go between my homes. Yeah, so I think that's really all I've been working on for a long time. So for acquisitions and discoveries, I have been out and about, which is rare, as you know. I'm either purchasing from the Woolly Thistle or purchasing from people on Instagram or specific farms, or, at workshops that I sponsor. So I got to go into Portland 2 weeks ago, and I attended the trunk show at Port Fiber with Christina of Matterroot, and I also went over to the Taproot Holiday Market at Milk and Honey Farm Cafe. And on that fiber trek, which truly was a fiber trek, I picked up a couple pieces that I wanted to share with you. So the first is I got to meet Hannah of Mindful Folk, and she is right here in the same hometown as my parents, so I'm hoping that she and I can connect. She raises Finn and mohair goats, I believe. I'm kind of extrapolating that based on the yarn composition. So I've been following her for a while, and I was really excited to meet with her at that event. I picked up 2 skeins. I believe these are hand spun, but I'm not 100% sure. So this is 60% thin and 40% mohair. And this is like a moss green. And it is mordanted with iron and dyed with goldenrod. It's 300 yards of a worsted weight. And then I picked up this natural brown. Now I plan on knitting, Maria Muscarella has a pattern. It's a cowl, and it is Into the Waves. And I thought this would be perfect for that. Now, I'm not 100% sure if I can't describe that stitch pattern to you, but it looks like floats and then a wave pattern in between, but I can't tell you. So when I knit that, we'll take a look. So I bought that for the purposes of that. So the main color will be this kind of really fun gray-brown, and the contrast will be this moss green. I also picked up from Christina of Matteroo. I picked up her wee trundle bag with the chickadee motif. So I think I've said this before, but I really like her products. I can't recreate them. I can't obtain this fabric. Obviously the silk screens are unique to her designs. The bags are handmade and screened by her and her husband, and I like the overtones of trekking and paddling and being on the water, because these are designed like waterproof bags that you might use when you're paddling or kayaking. So I like that clip, and I think it's simple. It's a simple design. She doesn't have to futz around with zipper insertions, and I don't have to futz around with making sure my project's tucked down enough that it doesn't get caught in the zipper, which happens frequently to me. So yeah, so I almost use these bags exclusively. I think Kate of Hawthorne Cottage Craft, her bags as well have snaps and a fold over button, and I like that style as well. So anyway, one more for the collection. I picked up a couple weaving tools from Casey. She's got a really nice array of weaving tools, handmade and as well as yarns. And so when I was there, she was actually getting ready to host a trunk show with Bristol Ivy. What that has to do with weaving, I don't think I segued that very well, but I picked up some weaving tools from presents for Rob, and then I also realized at the same time she was hosting Bristol Ivy in the upcoming weeks, and she had all of the samples from her new book, Knitting Outside the Box, in the store. Now, I had seen Bristol kind of highlighting different designs on her Instagram feed, and nothing within that had, I mean, I thought they were beautiful, but I wasn't in a like, oh yeah, I could totally see that, or I need to knit that, or I was admiring them. But when I saw them in person, it made a huge difference, and I was really taken with the whole collection and what it could offer me for knitting, you know, both challenge-wise, you know, new construction. And so when I looked at the book, one of the things I really liked about it and made it a really valuable resource was within each chapter, it's focused on, let's see if I can find it. Each chapter is highlighting a technique. So short rows is technique 2. I think mashup, was technique 1. And so within that, she has stitch patterns and stitch dictionaries. So this was the sweater that stole my heart, which is the Arbus. And Casey was wearing this in the shop. I really like the look of this, and I like the idea of using short rows for shaping. And I think this looks kind of edgy, but it also kind of hints at timeless shaping and timeless silhouettes like corsets. And so anyway, So I saw this and I was kind of like, yeah, I could totally see knitting that and be an enjoyable knit. And you know, she's so creative with the way she puts things together. So then, oh, I'm sorry. So then Stitch Patterns is technique 3. And then so she has these stitch dictionaries within them. It includes cables, gathers, lace, slipped stitches, twists, tucks, elongated stitches. So a really nice, valuable resource put together. It's very concise. And, I liked this Jemison cowl as well. And I think that's probably brioche. It's got kind of like a brioche leaf motif. It looks, I don't know that much about it, so I'm going to just stop right there and try not to make anything up. The other piece that I really loved was, and I really want to knit this in the yarn that Casey has, that Kashkora. Well, that one would be fun to knit in Kashkora too. I don't think it was this one. Well, I'll show you this piece. This is from the increases and decreases portion. Is this cocoon shape. Now, Bee Mandarine's Melody has a very similar style, very stylistically similar knit cocoon kind of sweater. And I was thinking, I wear a lot of boleros because I make a number of tunics that are sleeveless. I make them out of knit, and they are a 4-season garment for me, and I can wear boleros over them. But I was thinking for winter, for work, that these cocoon kind of shapes would be really comfortable, and they would be, you know, more versatile. I can't always wear sweaters at work. I get hot. I'm in a little dungeon type of room. It's cinder block, cement block, and it has no windows, and it's very small. And so it can get kind of stuffy and warm. So wearing a full-on sweater over a long sleeve doesn't always work layering wise. And I take my sweaters on, I put them off, and you know, so I like the idea of having on a tank and then throwing this on over it and being able to do. So I like this look, this kind of openness on the bust and front, and then just a little bit of cover on the shoulders. So that's Charmin. And then there was a really interesting, I think it might be this. This is Coloring Inside the Lines, which is exercise 3. No, I don't think it was that one. That may not be as important for me to find it for you. Unless you would like to enjoy a little bit of quiet with your knitting. I'm just going to see if I can find it. Rats, fat dogs. All right, well, anyway, maybe that would be a nice little surprise for you to take a look at Bristol's new book, Knitting Outside the Box. So I picked that up. Another discovery I had was I was at Mother of Pearl Yarn Shop, and I was picking up some bits and pieces. I needed some needles, and they are promoting this yarn. It's called Willow's Yarn, and this is a local farm in Maine. Here it is. Willow recently passed away, and she left quite a well-stocked barn of fleece and yarn. And so Mother of Pearl Yarn Shop is promoting her wool. It's raised, spun, and dyed in Maine. I believe it's dyed at Mother of Pearl Yarn Shop. So this is called Willow's Wool. And let me tell you, it's 80% wool, it's 20% alpaca. It's 4.5 ounces per 200 yards. They recommend a US 5 needle. You can, I don't know, they don't have an online shop, but you can certainly call Mother of Pearl Yarn Shop, or you can stop by. They do have a variety of colors, and I'll try to insert some pictures of the other colors. But I was thinking that this would be a really nice Jennifer Steingass yoke. Her Telia, they had, and because when you dye that, it's a gray. The base is a gray. It's a light kind of oatmeal-y gray, for lack of better terminology than gray. So when you over dye that, it just really provides a rich heathered color. So they gave me this sample just to talk a little bit about it, to kind of get it out there to the community that's interested in working with these types of place-based wools. So if you have a further interest in, getting some Maine wool on your needles and, giving some support to Willow's wool, feel free to get in touch with me and or Mother of Pearl Yarn Shop. So this is Fiber Trek in 4 parts. I edited the video yesterday, and then it's going along and I'm knitting, and all of a sudden it just, I stopped talking. So, which is rare, right? Hey bud, you wanna come up? Pop up. So I'm re-recording. Come on, Ruby. And I'm trying to have a productive weekend, and I just kind of keep getting bogged down in like fiddly bits. This didn't work. My computer goes slow. I kind of talked about that flow, and it's funny that I talk about it, and then it's like rub, rub, rub. So I think I was still in acquisitions and discoveries. I really wanted to introduce you to a new yarn that's coming out, and this is from Wild Lily Artisan Fibers, who's Jennifer Geyer. She's based out of Colorado. I really enjoy this aspect of the podcast and promoting good work and producers and small companies, because I feel like that's kind of the heart of what we do here is, try to encourage some of these smaller setups and farms to bring us product, and that's something that Jennifer, I know, has been working towards and is really at the heart of her business, is this wool culture and wool itself, and understanding the stories and the work behind the product and the medium. So she's released a number of story-based yarns, and they're very thoughtful, and they all kind of encompass some sort of a story, narrative, and kind of spirit, kind of a little bit of a lesson or a little bit of opportunity for reflection. So this is her Pace and Presence line, and it is a really interesting blend of breeds. It's a CVM and Shetland, and she selected that for the loft and the softness both of those breeds bring to the table, and then Blueface Leicester Gotland crosses for luster and strength. So you kind of get that luster, right? The shine, that tensile strength, but you're going to get a little bit of that plushness and spring. So it comes in a variety of colors, and the natural base, this comes in 300 yard put-ups, and I know that's not helpful for you at all, but it's like it's a gray. It's a warmer light gray. It has undertones of brown in it. So this is the base. This comes, like I said, in 300 yards. And then her colors come in 100 yard put-ups, and they are over-dyed on this base. She considers this a 2-ply sport weight, and like I said, approximately 300 yards and then 100 yard colors. So I really like this way of thinking about yarn and color work, because I am a garment knitter and color work has been so popular. And sometimes all you need is 60 yards, and then instead of having to buy a 300 yard skein of persimmon, you can buy 100 yard just to do that piece of that pop that you're going to do. So I really appreciate that element. Also, it certainly helpful for just doing accessories, so you don't have to buy 200-300 yard skeins if you wanted to do a pair of mittens. So I'll just take you through some of the colors here. I've already skeined up kind of the Midnight Navy, and I'm planning to do the Underwing mitts by Erica Huser. These are half mitts, and they feature a moth on the hand, the top of the hand. But what I really love about them is she has a Phases of the Moon motif on the cuff, and that would just really captured my imagination. And then she's got, for warm tones, she has kind of these persimmons and mustard. And I think, did I tell you the name of the line? This is Pace and Presence, Be Where You Are. So, and that's Wild Lily Artisan Fibers. This is a single run from 2017. So there are those warm colors. And then we've got the greens. So there's lots of like neutrals and then fun pops within each of the kind of the palette tones. I don't know if I'm using the correct words. So I'm sorry, these were the kind of the blues. And then there's these kind of purpley and brown and kind of a piney cone chestnut acorn brown. So these are all up on our website. Like I said, I think a pair of Colorwork mitts would be fun to do in this, be warm and have some of that strength for outerwear. And I'm planning to do a Jennifer Steingess sweater out of this. So either Sigrun or she has Trista in the latest issue of Lane, and then she also has Weinfeld in the Woods Making Stories. And I think that this would work for all three of those. They run between a DK and a sport and a fingering, but I'm happy to futz around with my gauge. And I tend to, if you knit this on a little bit tighter gauge, you probably get a little bit more durability out of that sweater. So anyway, I'm really excited for Jennifer's work and what she has to offer us. And I would encourage you, if you are looking to work with small-time producers or experience a different geographic area of this country or the world, head on over. She's got some, like I said, really interesting breeds. She focuses on conservation and heritage breeds, so it can be an easy way to access instead of having to go to particular farms. So I am looking forward to picking out my colors with that. I think that was it for acquisitions and discoveries. I know I wanted to talk very briefly about events. I have the Wool Scout Retreat coming up. That will be August 11th through the 15th for session 1 and August 15th through the 19th for session 2. The information on my website is updated. It describes the entire retreat. It's a very unique retreat. It's set at a remote sporting camp in northern Maine, and flying in on a float plane is highly encouraged due to the access on roads in that portion of the state. So those are all logging roads, they're all dirt, they're working roads, and it's just a tough place to be without a high lift jack, fix a flat, rope, etc. And understanding maps, not that you won't, but sometimes the maps aren't updated and there's gates, etc. So I would highly encourage you, if you're considering that retreat, that you get comfortable with the concept of a float plane. You can fly from Bangor, Maine, and it's about an hour flight, or you can fly from Millinocket, and it's about a 25-30 minute flight. So that retreat will be focused on primitive skills as well as knitting. It is hosting Mary Jane Mucklestone for both sessions, and she'll be doing Fair Isle themed classes, and those will primarily focus on Maine motifs, colorwork motifs, or kind of the Nova Scotia maritime area. And Maria Muscarella of the Ninja Chickens will be returning, this time as an instructor, and she will be doing an eco-printing on paper workshop. I will be teaching Sami bracelets, and we will have some other smattering of workshops thrown in. My husband, Rob, will be there for one session, and he'll be teaching fires, flint and steel fire, and he'll be teaching basic knots, as well as Igor Sikorsky. He's co-owner of the camp with his wife Karen, and he will be doing fly fishing again, map and compass, and what other, he's a myriad of talents, as does my husband Rob, that we can capitalize on for kind of Maine guide skills and outdoor skills. Janie Estelle of Starcroft will also be joining me, and she has some potential felting or weaving fun workshops in the retreat. It really is meant to mirror summer camp, so these aren't like highly intense technical workshops outside of the work that Mary Jane does. They're more just for enrichment, to try, to explore. So this is a relaxed experience. I do communicate quite a bit beforehand, but it's not intended to come with your swatches and be in classes for 8 hours. It really is more like, if you want to go to the knot tying workshop, go to the knot tying workshop. If you don't, go sit in your cabin or by the lake or by the fire. So it's more of like an enrichment kind of experience. Things are very laid back. And yes, so I think that's what I have to tell you now. Fiber-trek@squarespace.com. You can read all about the accommodation and the location, etc. So, and you'll find the pricing, the updated pricing there. I'll also be doing the Machias Port Retreat. There's 2 sessions of that. I'm not sure what I have for availability, but you can certainly check the One Lupin site, and I will put, I'll probably put links right in the, on the blog to both of those websites. So those are kind of up and coming. I'm really excited about doing both of them. So I'm doing kind of a wild coast and a wild woods retreat. And what else? Oh, I am going to Edinburgh Yarn Festival. My flight is booked. My Airbnb is booked. So that is a go. I am so looking forward to a little jet setting, fiber jet setting. People are having a hard time understanding that I'm flying to Scotland for 4 days and coming back for a yarn festival, but it's what we love, right? So it feels decadent and luxurious to me, and I just am reveling in that. So I'm flying through Ireland, and I'm really happy with the route that Claire and I got. We are flying together out of Boston, and it'll be fun to have a traveling companion. So yeah, I hope to see you there. And what else do I have in the works? I've got I just have a lot of traveling planned, and I've just got a really supportive family, and I'm looking forward to going to Scotland to see my friends Mark and Louise on Edie. Hello, Louise. And I'm hoping to go for shearing. So yeah, so I have a lot to look forward to in the upcoming year. Shackleton yarn. Wow, talk about a Shackleton journey. Becoming an entrepreneur for me is like such a foreign concept. Getting an EIN number, becoming an LLC, filing my taxes. But it's on its way. I have another resistant, like to sit down and think about that, but I know I need to do it. Right, so the Shackleton yarn. That will be going up at the beginning of January, and we'll see what happens. So I'm letting that kind of be an unfold, pace and presence, be where you are kind of thing. Because I can tend to get a lot of anxiety about not reaching goals with it, and it's supposed to be a project, and it is a project, so let it be a project. I think that's all I have, so it's time to bid ye a fond farewell. Did I say bid ye? I think I did. Bid you a fond farewell, and look forward to seeing you next time. So wherever your fiber treks may take you, may you return home safe with lots of soulful stash. I'll see you next time. Bye.